Hello, everyone.
What's up?
How is everyone doing?
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you
I'm
doing?
doing good.
Yeah. We're back. You haven't gotten rid of us yet.
Episode 7.
Seven.
Seven.
It's the magic number.
The holiest of holy
The
numbers.
holiest of the holiest episodes.
Whoa.
Whoa. Anyway,
Anyways.
today we're going to talk about life reflecting Christ.
That is what we're talking about.
So,
So,
for those who don't know what that means, what does... Sorry. We have
so sorry.
a tech person intervening with the podcast. Shout out David Byers. Anyway, what does life reflect? Oh my God.
Life reflecting Christ.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can English.
What
I
does it
appreciate
mean?
Life reflecting Christ. For me, what it means is, our job is to be like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And obviously in the Bible, when Jesus came, the New Testament, everything is the prime example on how to be like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he was perfect. We're not perfect. And I think acknowledging that is a first step of kind of being like, well, we're not perfect, but we strive to be like Jesus. And so life reflecting Christ is in our life, we're supposed to reflect who Jesus was. And so what that means is, well, we're going to get into it, but essentially what that means is we want to be like Jesus. We want to treat people like Jesus. We want to be ready for the negatives that come of being like Jesus. And also I guess it's also like a hunger of being like Jesus, because that's our goal here on earth.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What about you? What does it mean for you?
Pretty much the same. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, like life reflected Christ. But yeah, I think it's so important, and we're called to
literally
live like, what would Jesus do? Like, that's literally like, like that word. That's what
bracelets and everything.
Yeah,
What would Jesus do?
I have one.
Oh, you do?
I do.
WWJD.
WWJD. Anyways, what would Jesus do? And I think that's what kind of our whole purpose and goal as a Christian is to reflect Christ, and then from that we can lead people to know God's love. And there's just such an importance of taking on the characteristics of Jesus, both for us and also for other people too.
I agree. Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so we're going to start with reading Colossians 3.
Colossians.
Colossians. What'd you say?
I say a lot of things.
Oh, my bad. Colossians 3, verse 12 through 14. And this is what it says. 12 through 14, my bad. Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other, as the Lord has forgiven you. So you must also forgive. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. That's heavy. It's like, it's heavy because it talks about, honestly, it talks like 4 different things at the same time, but it's like pretty amazing.
There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah. We can just talk about it right away. If it says put on the, God's chosen ones, we're all God's chosen ones, even though at the end of the day it's free will and we decide if we want to follow God and all those things, but we're still his chosen ones, if that makes sense. But obviously it gives examples of, patience, kindness, forgiving one another, which I think is one of the hardest things to do, is forgiving people. Yes. And I think if you haven't experienced it, it's going to be really hard when you do. And if you have experienced it, then you understand the difficulties of
Yeah.
forgiving. Because forgiving is not only just be like, I forgive him or I forgive him, whatever.
It's about your posture of your heart. And
Exactly.
It's not just words. It's how you feel towards them, how you act towards them. how-
Actions. That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say.
Yeah.
Where, that saying, the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Who came up with
I
that?
have no idea. I have no
Okay.
idea who came up with that, but I think the more, what was it?
I don't know.
I think the more you go into adulthood, the more you realize that it's the words that hurt you the
Yeah.
most, not even like the actions.
Yeah.
But and sorry. I think, and also the last verse, which kind of transitions, well, because earlier in this passage, it talks about being compassionate,
Mhm.
kindness, humility, but at the end on verse 14 and says, above all these put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony.
Mm.
Which I think brings up the great point of being a life reflecting Christ, where Jesus' job was to love, and so our job is to love, and love just binds everything together.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, how do I do that? Like, how can I reflect Christ? And I don't think I think if we focus on, like, if our whole goal is like, oh, I have to reflect Christ, it's just not going to happen because you're going
Yeah.
to be so focused on the works and not like-
That's true. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think what it is like the more you spend time with Jesus and the more you want to be with him, then more characteristics of Christ we're
Mhm.
going to take on, and then the more we're going to bear his fruit, which is the fruit of the spirit.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's if the fruits of the spirit, if we think about it as food, literally like food, whatever. It helps us become, well, it's like the perfect example on how to be like Jesus.
Yeah.
And that we will read it right now.
Right now.
What?
Sorry. So sorry.
Where is it?
It's in Galatians.
Oh, I know it's in I just couldn't find it. Oh, there it is. I'm so sorry, everyone. These sticky notes are so close to each other.
Yeah,
Anyway, don't worry about it.
everything is in like
I know.
the same spot.
Okay, Galatians 5:22 through 23. It's very literally. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law.
Mm.
And, as humans, it's really hard to do all of those things.
Mhm.
And it can seem to be overwhelming of like, you're thinking of like, oh, I have to be this and this
Yeah.
and that and that.
And then
and
that's
that.
when it becomes about the works and not
Exactly.
and not
And not about.
and not
and
and
not.
not.
And not. Yeah. But, then actually, I think I've mentioned this before where I don't know why this came. Well, I know why this came to mind. Every time I read about the fruits of the Spirit, every single time, I remember of a musical that I did when it was at a church, and it was, I don't remember who wrote it or if it was somebody who wrote it or we did it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like we were all of us were fruits of the Spirit, and we were supposed to showcase like what we are. And it was like there was a song, and it was like the fruits of the Spirit go shining. Everything you do, it's hilarious. And then it was like love, joy, peace, and patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. The fruits of the Spirit go shining. Anyway, shout out
That was beautiful.
to Lilia Porter.
Lilia?
Yeah,
That's a cool
that was our
name.
director.
I like that name.
Yeah, Lilia Porter. Shout out if you ever watched this. I don't think we haven't talked in a long time, but I don't know. Maybe you will watch this eventually. But anyway,
Maybe.
every time I think of fruits of the Spirit, I think of that. But when the older I've gotten, the more I realize that if we ask God to show us the fruits of the Spirit, or
Mhm.
like how. And actually, what's funny? This morning, actually, we had our beginnings Bible study, and we went over James 1, and where it talks about trials and tribulations and what's the purpose of trials, and it's like the way that you ask, or the way that you want to become more like Christ, is to ask for those things.
Mhm.
And that's actually what we were talking about this morning, where we're like, trials sometimes, and what I said, I think, was sometimes we ask for trials where we're like, God, I want to be more patient. God, I want to be more loving. And he puts things in your life to learn how to do those things.
Mhm.
Or sometimes he just gives you trials because he
Yeah.
knows that there's something that's coming. And so,
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say that when you were reading. Well, when you were speaking, and then I was thinking, but then you said it instead.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I agree. I think that the best way to accomplish anything is to pray about it and ask God for it. Like when we were talking about comparison a
Yeah.
couple episodes ago, and we mentioned that like if you don't want to compare yourself anymore, ask God to help you through that. And I think that's the same. Like when you want to reflect Christ, you can just ask him, like, God, make me more like you, like make me live life like you and help me to walk like you did. And he will do that. There will probably, if you ask to be more patient, God's gonna throw something at you that doesn't make you, that makes you restless.
Yeah.
And it's gonna help you learn to be more patient. And so you have to realize that. You can't be like, God, like, I asked you to make me more patient, and now all these like things are happening. Well, these things are happening so you can learn to be patient,
Exactly.
So there are reasons that God does things, and I think looking at it, asking God for wisdom and discernment to figure out, like, and to acknowledge, like, oh, this is for a better purpose, and so that I can grow in my relationship with God and in my fruit, bear more fruit.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I mean, exactly how we both just said, when we ask for things from God, expect something to come that you have to work through.
Yeah.
And that's can also be scary because it's like, you because you want to get better.
Yeah.
But also that like something bad may happen. Not I don't want to call it bad. I want to call it something challenging that's coming.
Yeah, something challenging.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think also something to realize is when we read about the fruits of the Spirit, it's a long list. But God is patient.
Yes.
In the sense of like, we don't have to be exactly like that list right away. You know
well,
what
and
I
we're
mean?
not perfect.
Exactly.
So, we can work to get better and better and better, but we don't need to feel bad when we stumble or when we fall because we're not perfect.
Exactly.
And God isn't going to be mad at us.
Yeah, God is not going to hold it against us of like, well, you wanted to learn about love, but you are not patient or anything like that, where it cross sections is like, God, I want to be more patient. There'll be things for patient.
Yeah.
God, I want to learn how to love more. There will be more things to love more.
Yeah. I think also, I just thought about this right now, but at the end of that section, God says the greatest of these is love. Does he say that? He says that in some places. You know what I mean? Yeah. It happens. Anyways, and and I think like the whole point is like love is a verb and it is an action. And so all of the fruit of the Spirit kind of embody like what love looks like and how to love people.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, that's
it's just a thought I had.
It just came to mind, I just thought I would mention it, it's whatever.
I'm just awesome. So.
It's a whatever. I'm just
not
saying
a big deal.
it.
I'm just
I'm
really
just
cool.
a lot higher than I'm just a lot higher than you. That's all I gotta say.
God just likes me more. It's not
it's not a big deal
it's
though.
Not a big deal.
I'm just trying to say what's true.
Dave's sorry.
If you haven't I don't think we've ever talked about Dave's here. We're like obsessed with Dave's Hot Chicken. I hope we somehow get sponsored. That would be so cool. But yeah, literally every time.
I'm really hungry, so I'm just thinking about it.
That's true. Literally every time since we started recording the podcast, we've got a Dave's Hot Chicken right after.
It used to be like Sundays after church
Yep.
occasionally. And then it was Saturdays after the podcast and then Sundays after church.
Yeah.
And now it's like 3 to 4 times a week.
Yep. Wait, what?
Well, yeah, because we go, like,
Oh,
we
yeah.
just go.
That one time we went, I think that one time was like 3 times a week because we went on a Thursday, I think,
Yeah.
and we went on Saturday, and I think we went on Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a problem.
it's good. It's
Well, actually, I don't see it as a problem.
I don't think it's a problem.
Enjoying good food is not
It's not an issue.
an issue.
Anyways, sorry.
To
I'm
go
so
back
sorry.
to what we were talking about, yeah, like how you were saying, love is the culmination of everything. It's like pretty much teaching you how to love.
Yeah.
And it can get, I'm trying to think of how to say this because oh whoa, I blanked out on it. I'm so sorry. Well, okay. There's a so there's a special relation if you have siblings, brothers and sisters.
Mhm.
If you have siblings, there's a special connection and relationship. Even though sometimes siblings suck. I'm just gonna say it. And sometimes you are the one that sucks.
Also true.
Obviously with your siblings. But at the end of the day, they're your blood. You love your siblings and you would do anything for them. At least I hope that's what your experience with siblings are. Because that's
Yeah.
my experience where, there's times where I've been distant or there's times where I don't talk to them or maybe I'm mean to them or something like that. Or they're mean to me. And, we part our ways for a little bit. But we always come
That's
back.
very interesting because I was just about to talk about this.
Really?
Yeah.
What were you gonna say about
Well,
it?
I was going to say it's important to remember that love is a choice. And it's not, sometimes it can be like a lovey-dovey feeling, but that's not always going to be there with any relationship that you
I
have.
agree.
With a romantic relationship, with platonic relationships,
Mhm.
with friendships, with family, you're not always going to feel lovey-dovey, but love is a choice and it's an action. And like you were saying, I was going to use siblings as an example. Like, I'm very close with both of my siblings and
Mhm.
I love them very much. But sometimes I just want to scream at them and pull their hair and,
Yep.
not see them or let them breathe around me because their breathing sounds annoying. And like sometimes that's just how it is. And
Yeah.
but I still choose to love them and choose to love them.
Well-
And with my parents too and my friendships, like there are some times when I don't talk to all of my friends for a long time. Or we're growing apart or they do something that makes me upset, but I care about them and I
Mhm.
choose to love them because I know that there are times where God's probably not all happy with the decisions I'm making, but he still chooses to love me and chooses to stay and allow me to come back to him. And I think that we need to do that. Like we need to reflect his actions
Mhm.
in that and choose to love people even when we don't feel all like lovey-dovey and rainbows and
Yeah.
sunshine.
Well, and also because sometimes sometimes you, like how you were just talking about, sometimes we don't agree with what they're doing
Mhm.
or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it's not our job to judge what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's our job. It's our job to love them and to, in a loving way, if it's going against the Bible, showing them
Yeah.
like, hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And I've been at fault at that multiple times, and I'm so lucky. I see it because I'm so lucky that sometimes my siblings, without even me telling them anything, they'll know exactly what it is, and they'll be like, well, you're doing this wrong because of this. And sometimes I won't listen to them. I'll just be like, well, I'm doing what I want and
Mhm.
I'm happy or whatever. But like and also I think another thing of siblings is holding ourselves accountable or holding each other accountable. I think that's also
Uh-huh.
something, especially the older you grow, holding each other accountable is tough.
Yes. Well, because when you're younger, like very black and white from what your parents taught you is good and bad. It's like
Yeah.
if you punch someone, they can be like,
Oh, I
why
did
would
that
like
to
don't do that?
Yeah,
Mom said no,
exactly.
and they'll be like shoot, or you'd be like I'll tell mom, and they're like no,
Yeah.
but like, but when you're older and you gain like different political views or different like religious
Mhm.
beliefs or like whatever it may be, it's harder to be like, or like different views on like relationships and just like how to live in general. It can be
Yeah.
harder to be like, hey, like that doesn't align with the Bible.
Mhm.
And then they'll get all butthurt about it
Yeah.
because people are too afraid to get hurt.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's also something you have to realize is just because they're siblings doesn't mean they're not humans.
Yeah.
They are humans.
Yeah.
And that or actually, when we read the Bible, there's a few mentions. Well, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more than what we've read, but it talks about being brothers and sisters in Christ,
Yeah.
right? And so that, well, let's read Matthew 12,
Matthew
48 through 50. Which says, "But he replied to the man who told him, 'Who is my mother and who are my brothers?' And stretching out his hand towards his disciples, he said, 'Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother.'"
Mm.
And so Jesus here is talking about like whoever does the will of my, and in it says he points at his disciples, which Jesus did have siblings,
Mm.
but he pointed at his disciples and he's like, "These are my brothers," because they're and then he says, "Whoever follows the will of the Father is my brother." or my
James is
sister."
his brother, right?
I believe so. Yes.
I think so.
James. Oh, James. I don't know why I said to James. Don't worry about it.
We like James.
I like James.
James is my,
so
I think
good.
like top 3 books for me.
I think it's top 2 for me.
Really?
Yeah.
It might, yeah. It's, I mean, I don't know. It's definitely up there for me.
Yeah. But talking about what we just read, it's the relationship between your siblings. Like let me just, like, for example, when we're at a church and we all like, obviously when we accept Christ in our hearts, we become connected. And I think we've talked about this where
Mhm.
there's a different type of connection between people who are Christian and people who are not, because we're all one body, we're all one mind. Doesn't mean we don't disagree. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we are under, I don't want to say under one jurisdiction, but
We're the
like,
body.
but we're the body of Christ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think being part of the body, there's also some sort of responsibility as well. It's just following God's will, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen.
Listen.
We like brothers and sisters that you are blood related to, like we just talked about. There are going to be times where you disagree, times where you bicker, but you choose to love them. And once you become a Christian and you are a part of the body with other Christians, you become family and you become brothers and sisters in Christ. And we need to treat them just as we would treat our family, because we're connected through the Spirit. And in some ways that can be closer than family, because if your family isn't, Christian, then you aren't connected through the Spirit, and you can be separated like that. But so we're family, And so we need to choose to love them no matter what. And if we have different, just like with our brothers and sisters, blood related, if we have different opinions or different views on stuff, it doesn't mean that has to come between how we feel about each other and how we love each other, because God commands us to love, and love is a choice. So we need to still show fruit to them no matter what, and show love towards them.
Yeah. And that kind of connects to the second verse that we were going to read, which is 1 John 4:20, where it says, "If anyone says I love God and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love whom he has not seen." Which is intense. But it's so simple, but it's like, it's true. Like, if we cannot love somebody who we see,
Yeah.
How can we love somebody that we don't see? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And going back to what you were saying, love is a choice, and we can say things in a loving way, but it is so easy to turn things into a hating way, if that makes
and
sense.
listen, I like saying that. Sorry. Actions speak louder than words. They do. And you can say that you love everyone and say like, oh, well, it's okay because I love them. Like after you just tore them apart,
Yeah.
talking about them behind their back and be like, well, it's okay because I still have love for them.
Yeah, nah.
No. Actions are louder than words. And I said earlier that love is a verb, and verb means action. A verb is an action word. I don't know if you know
I don't know that song.
I learned it in school. Anyways, but we need to show love not only through our words, because again, like they don't really mean anything if your actions don't align with it. So we need to show love through how we treat other people and how we talk about them and how we interact with them. And that's all I have to say about that. My brain went blank and now I have nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, and I mean, that's kind of, this verse kind of combines kind of what we were talking about a little bit, because, you know, again, when we think of siblings, you know, sometimes we disagree with them, we want to fight them sometimes, but we still love them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's essentially, you know, if we can't love a brother who's here in person, how can we love God?
Exactly.
And that's, you know, and I think that can also tie into how we live in this world, right? Where we can be a positive influence or we can be a negative influence in this world. And I think in the culture that it is right now, if there's somebody you don't agree on, cut him out. Get out of here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But that's not what we're supposed to do. You know, we're supposed to, because that's the way the world goes.
I know.
You know, we're separating people who believe in certain things and who believe in other things, or the opposite it may be, and instead of talking and loving each other, and loving each other, just because we disagree on this one thing, we dismantle everything else.
Well, God ate with people he disagreed with.
Yeah.
Jesus did. And which, you know, same thing, but whatever. And like with the tax collectors and the thieves and killers, and he called Paul, who literally murdered thousands of Christians, and he wanted Paul to be his, like, I mean, Paul wrote like more than half the New Testament.
Yeah,
like Paul is
13 books,
14
books.
And like we can't not love people and have relationship with people who disagree with us, because that's not what Jesus did. And if we're trying to live like Christ, we have to seek out the people we disagree with and seek out the people that we wouldn't normally get along with, because we need to build relationships there and help them realize what the truth is. And sometimes like with politics or even like some types of things Christians believe that isn't necessarily, like there are some differentiating, like that's why we have denominations, because there are some things that aren't in the Bible that we disagree on.
Yeah.
But we can't let that come between us, because like God, it doesn't tell us in the Bible who to vote for. So we can have our own opinions, and
it tells us to pray for our leaders.
Yes.
That's what it tells us.
Yes. And there's just so many things that we just disagree on that shouldn't come between us, because it wouldn't come between God and you. And if it wouldn't come between God and that other person, it shouldn't come between you and another person, you know?
Yeah.
And
Goosebumps.
I was going to say something else, but I forgot.
And you said it in a song form.
Always.
No, yeah, I agree. I think that's the way the world works. And also there's a wrong way to do it as well. Because I've experienced it and know people who, this says nothing against people that go out and preach in the street or anything like that. That has nothing against with that, because you're speaking the word of God. Yeah. However, when you do it in a negative, hating way
Yeah.
of like, you're going to hell because
Yeah, well, I've seen like
you know-
people like carrying signs
Yep.
like you're gonna burn in hell, and then like preaching on the streets like repent now, we're burning hell for the rest of your life. And how is that gonna help people want to be a Christian?
Yep.
Like,
That's literally repelling them.
yeah, that makes them think we're like insane.
Yeah.
I remember what I was gonna say.
Okay, go ahead.
Were you finished?
Yeah.
I remember what I was gonna say. We are called, loving God is honoring him, right? And many times in the Bible, like earlier, it says the greatest commandment is love.
Mhm.
And if we want to honor God and honor the law and honor his commandments, we need to love other people and love each other. And if we say and if we claim that we love God, that means we have to honor him and honor his commandments, which means reflecting the life Jesus lived, which means loving everyone, no matter what. And it's going to be hard
Yeah.
because, like, loving people is so, like lame sometimes.
Especially if they suck.
Yeah, like, if they're mean, like, you don't want to love on them. But
Yeah.
but in that case, you need to ask God to help you.
Yeah.
Because
Always ask
you'll be
God
like,
to help
God,
you."
I don't have the power to love this person.
Mhm.
I need you to give me that love and give me some of your love to show to this person. And if you really want to and believe he will, it'll happen.
Yeah.
And
I think the younger we realize that we can't do things by ourselves,
the
like,
easier.
the easier it gets.
Well,
in the way of like asking God.
yes, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Life
Not
doesn't
saying
get
life's gonna be easier, but
Yeah.
the easier it gets for us to go to God instead of going to
Yeah.
people or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else. Why do I keep forgetting?
I don't know.
Our memories are so bad today.
Yeah, it's
I don't even know what's going on.
it's okay.
What
Well,
was I gonna say?
this also I forgot to mention earlier today. This episode was inspired by our viewers, where have made comments. So please keep commenting.
Please.
We want to talk
like
about
it.
the things that you guys want to hear about, and if we don't know, we'll tell you we don't know, and we'll discover it together.
Yeah,
but-
give us any topics because
Yeah.
we like talking about stuff that we have no answers for.
Yeah,
We like that.
but we just support it with what the Bible says, and then that's what we do.
Exactly.
And so we appreciate some of the ideas from our viewers for this topic. And so now we're going to go to our question of the day.
Question.
Or the episode, I guess you could say.
Yeah, question of the episode.
Okay. Question is, what's your most controversial hot take, Julianne?
Guys, I have so many. I have really big.
My watch in my Siri on
Miss
my
ma'am.
watch. Whoa, what's going on? They're listening.
Okay, I have a lot because this goes along with my hot take that I have decided.
Okay.
But I have a lot of opinions, and I'm not scared to talk about my opinions. So I have a lot of hot takes that people are usually nervous to talk about.
Yeah.
But I think the one that I thought of first when we came up with this question, is that I think it goes along with what we talked about today too.
Yeah,
'Cause I almost talked about it so many times.
I know. I saw your face when you were
I
like,
wanted to talk about it so many times. But I don't think we should be so afraid of hurting people's feelings. And I don't think I don't. I think we have our own opinions and we shouldn't be afraid of sharing them. And I think people are just too sensitive. And I think that's why we can't be friends with people who have different
that makes sense.
like,
yeah. Mhm.
different opinions than we do, because people are like so afraid of getting their feelings hurt. So when you have different opinions with someone and you're like having a casual conversation about it, and they're like, you disagree with me and you hurt my feelings. and then you can't be friends anymore because they hurt your feelings. And
Yeah.
but getting your feelings hurt is a normal part of life.
part of growing.
Yeah,
honestly.
like we can't be so afraid of that. And so I think we just need to not be, especially if your opinions align with the Bible, which they should. But I feel like Jesus was never afraid of hurting people's feelings when he came.
Mhm.
He was like,
He was so blunt, dude.
yeah, like he flipped tables, you guys.
He's
And there was this
crazy.
one time he was like, "You want to throw stones at this person? Are you guys sinners?" And they
Yeah.
were like,
Like, all right, we're going home now.
yeah, like, come on. So I don't think we should be so afraid of hurting other people's feelings. And I also think we shouldn't let differentiating
English for a second
I
there.
didn't. I don't think we should let different opinions come between relationships and being friends with other people.
Yeah.
And I think if someone hurts your feelings, that doesn't mean you can't be friends with them either.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, grow up. In a loving way.
In a loving way.
In a loving way.
Obviously, if someone is
like a bully.
Yeah. If someone is like emotionally abusing you, then yeah.
Yeah, then please get out of that relationship. But like, if you have different opinions and they hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sometimes I mean wait, was it today? No, it was actually on Wednesday. We had a challenge in the youth group where we had to memorize a verse and apply it to our lives. And one of the youth used a verse of it was be quick to listen and slow to anger or something like that. I think that's in James. No, actually that was this morning. I think that was this morning. Anyway, it was either Wednesday or this morning.
Or both.
Or both. Yeah, where it was like you're be slow to no. Be quick to hear and slow to anger, right? And so sometimes that's what it takes, really. Sometimes that's what it takes.
Like, listen to people.
Sometimes people just want to be heard.
Yeah, like
literally.
It's just David, it's something you want.
I don't know. He's laughing at us. David Byers is laughing at us. We did something wrong.
We did
probably.
something wrong.
Anyways,
what's yours?
My controversial hot take is, man, maybe it's because I'm younger and I haven't experienced like super high stress, but I don't think stress exists. Okay, let me rephrase that. I don't think stress is a reason why you should like essentially hurt yourself. Simply because I'll give the example. I saw an interview with if those who don't know who Shaquille O'Neal is, he's an NBA Hall of Fame. Anyway, I saw an interview with him and he told me that he was talking about the story of stress, and that he was playing a game and he was playing really bad, and his father asks him like, why did you play so bad? And he was like, well, it was stressful because so many people relied on me and they're relying on me to be good and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, meet me tomorrow, 4 a.m. They meet the next day. They drive for a while and then they park. And then right across from the car, there's a tent there. And then eventually they just wait there, and a dad comes out, a mom comes out, and 2 kids come out. And so the dad used that example to tell Shaquille O'Neal that's what stress is not knowing when your next meal is coming, not having a roof over your head. That's what real stress is. And so that's the way that I think about it, where in my job, I could easily be overwhelmed with my job and be easily stressed because people rely on me on a lot of things. And I actually, it was funny that this last Friday, I realized how much I'm in charge of at work, especially now that my boss is going on his leave because he's having surgery. I was like, I didn't realize how much I was in charge of and how much more they're piling on while he's gone, which is not a bad thing, but I could easily be stressing about it. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to have a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have a job. I have a roof over my head, and it's a job.
Well, I feel like, again, young, literally never had a job before, so. But I feel like when you do have stable income and like food and a roof over your head, I feel like work is not something that seems so crazy to be stressed over.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, work is a part of life, and
yeah,
like, I don't know, it just seems like like you can be like, there are stressful moments and stressful things, but allowing that stress to like take over is like kind of crazy.
Yeah. That's why I don't I don't
agree
understand with people who like, they're like, my job is so stressful when they're they're like workaholics because they can't catch up or whatever.
Mhm.
But obviously every situation is different. But I think in general, like if you like how I said earlier, if you have a roof over your head and you have food, like there's nothing to stress about.
Yeah,
You know.
I think I agree with you.
Anyway, that's a hot take. That's about it.
Yeah, that's all we've had.
That's all we have today.
I just
You just did
didn't write
English
this
again.
in again. That's
Thank
all we've
you.
got for you.
For joining us on
Thank you
episode
for
7.
supporting.
The magic,
Whoop, whoop.
the magic number.
The holiest of holies.
Oh, sorry, holiest the holiest.
We can harmonize.
Okay, what should I do?
So sorry
I'm so
for
sorry,
that,
David
especially-
Byers.
Yeah, headphone
And,
wearers.
oh yeah, headphone wearers. We
I'm
apologize.
so sorry.
Anyway, that's it for episode 7.
That's all we've got.
We'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye-bye.